If you've been Googling how much a Bali wedding costs, you've probably seen a dozen different numbers by now. And I know how confusing that feels. So let me be honest with you. Every one of those number is really just a guess. The true cost of your wedding doesn't comes down to an average. It comes down to five things. I'm Yoan from Wedding in Bali, and over the next few minutes, I'll walk you through all five gently and clearly with real examples. I'll tell you about the cost almost nobody warns you about, and I'll share my honest tips for spending less. Come with me. Why there's no average. First, let's clear some things up together. A quiet elopement for two on a clifftop and 100 guest celebration at the luxury villa wedding are not the same wedding. They're not even close. So when a website hands you one average price, it's really telling you nothing about your day. What actually helps you is understanding what moves your number so you can shape a wedding that fits your budget, not somebody else. So let's look at five things that decide it. The five things. Number one, and the biggest by far, your guest count. Almost everything grows with how many people you invite. The catering, the size of the venue, the staffing, the furniture, lots of vendors. Here's an example you might recognize. You start out picturing an intimate dinner with just your closest family. Then the list grows. You add the cousins, the friends, then the plus ones. Every name you add doesn't just cost one more meal. It can mean a bigger venue to fit everyone, more staff to serve them, more tables, more chair, more flowers down the middle of each one. That's why two couples at the very same venue can pay completely different amount purely because the size of their guest list. If there's one thing that gives you the most control over your budget, it's this one. Number two, your venue and your style. A simple garden in Ubud, an exclusive clifftop estate hanging over the ocean in Uluwatu, are in completely different league. And it's not just the view you're paying for. This is the part people miss. Some venue include a lot in their higher fee. The tables, the chair, the sound systems, basic lighting. Others give you a beautiful empty space and you rent every single thing on top. So a venue that looks cheaper at first can actually cost more once you added everything in. A little piece of advice from me, always ask what's included before you fall in love with a place. Number three, how much you want handled for you. Think of this as a gentle sliding scale. At one end, a simple ceremony, a celebrant, a few rows of chair, a bouquet, a photographer to capture it. At the other end, a full production, a floral arc, styling on every table, a multi-course dinner, cake, a band, or a DJ, hair and makeup, the works. It's actually same wedding in a sense that you end up married, but totally different costs. And the lovely thing is it's completely your call where on that scale you sit. There is no right answer, only the one that feels like you. Number four, your season and your date. Bali has a peak season, roughly during the dry months, and that's when the demand is the highest. A Saturday in July, when the weather is perfect, is the most sought after slot there is. So the best venue and vendors book far ahead and they hold their prices. But shift that same wedding to a quieter month or even just do a weekday instead of a Saturday and suddenly there's more availability and more rooms to move. The wedding doesn't change, the date does, and the date has a price. Number five, your ceremony type. This one surprised lots of couple. A symbolic ceremony or a blessing is purely about moment. You stand up, you say your vow, it's beautiful, and there's no paperwork. A legal wedding is different. To be legally married in Bali, there's documentation and official and a process that depends on your nationality and your religion. It's entirely doable, but it's at steps at costs. So here's something worth knowing. A lot of couples quietly do the legal part in their home country, then have their real celebration here as a blessing. That's a choice that yours to make. But before we go on, let me show you where your money actually goes. Where the money goes. Wherever you land on all five, here's where most of your budget really goes: the venue and the catering. Those two almost always lead. The photography, the flowers, the music, they are all matter enormously to how the day feels. But the venue and feeding your guests are the heavy hitters, which is exactly why guest count and venue, number one and number two, move your total more than anything else. Hidden fees. This next part is the one I really don't want you to miss because it's where couples get caught up. And I hate for that to be you. There are costs almost nobody mentioned until the bill arrives. The first thing is the Banjar fee. In Bali, your venue sits inside a local village community, and there is small customary contribution to that community for holding your event on their land. It's completely normal and it's part of doing things respectfully here. The trouble is when nobody tells you about it and it appears right at the end as a surprise. A couple booking directly with the venue might never heard the word Banjar until the final invoice. A good planner builds it in from day one. The second is drinks. Imported alcohol is taxed heavily in Indonesia. So if you are picturing a free flowing bar all night with wine, spirits, cocktails, the lot, know that it can quietly become one of the biggest parts of the whole day. Plenty of couples switch to a smarter setup, like a welcome drink and a couple of signature cocktails, and save a real amount without anyone noticing. The third is the legal paperwork we just talked about. If you want it legally recognized, the documents and the process cost time and money, and they're different for every nationality. It's not a reason to worry, it's just a reason to ask early. And the fourth, villas. Some of the most beautiful villa venue ask you to book the whole villa for a minimum number of nights. Or they add a separate function fee on top of the rental for hosting an event. So the venue cost you saw online might not be half the story. None of this should ever ambush you. The whole point of planning it properly is that you see all of it clearly before you commit. Spend less. So, how do you actually spend less without your wedding looking like you cut corners? Here's my honest tip. One, and you probably saw this coming: trim the guest list. It's the most powerful thing you can do. A smaller, warmer wedding with the people who matter most is almost always gentler on your budget and often lovelier too. Two, be flexible on your date. Step away from peak season Saturdays. A weekday or a quieter month can save you a real amount for the exact same day. Three, consider a blessing instead of a legal ceremony. If you can handle the legal side at home, of course. You skip the paperwork and the cost that comes with it. Four, spending where it shows and save where it doesn't. Your guests will remember the food, the atmosphere, the photos. They won't remember how expensive the chair cover were. Put your money into the things people actually feel. Five, rethink the bar. A full free flow bar all night is one of the easiest place to overspend. A welcome drink and couples of signature cocktails feels generous and cost far less. And six, use an all inclusive package and a local planner. Bundling the day together almost always works out better than booking every vendor separately. And a good planner gets local rates you simply cannot get on your own. Which bring me to my last thought for you. Bali versus home. For a lot of couples, especially from Australia, the UK, the US, Singapore, a wedding in Bali can genuinely cost less than the same wedding back home, even after the flights. The catch is knowing how to get the real local value instead of paying the I'm a foreigner and I have no idea what this should cost tax. That's exactly where the right planner pays for themselves. So, what will your Bali wedding cost? The honest answer is I cannot tell you from behind this camera, and I would never insult you by guessing. But I can get you a real number built around your day. So, tell us your date, your guest count, and a rough budget. At the wedding in Bali, we'll match you with a trusted Bali wedding planners who knows this venue, these vendors, and yes, all these hidden costs inside out. They'll send you back a proper quote with everything included and nothing buried. The link is right below in this video, or you can message us on WhatsApp. It's free, there is no obligation, and we usually reply within minutes. I'm Yoan from Wedding in Bali. Now go and plan the wedding you actually want. I'll see you in the next one.